What's up, guys? This is Cashcowspokertv. Your boy Eric back with you here with Jones to talk about Week 7 fantasy football. If you guys wasn't watching, we're here to recap you on everything you missed and give you a few first looks at Week 8. Jones, what's going on, man?
Not too much, man. Ready to give the recap of what we seen. Pretty big stuff going on across fantasy in general. We got basketball starting up, so pretty exciting stuff. But we're here to break down Week 7.
Yeah, we already went over the Chiefs game, the injury to Mahomes, somewhere between 3 and 6 weeks. Ripples of that will be felt throughout the NFL and throughout fantasy. I'll personally enjoy not having Mahomes around for a little while. I wasn't heavy on him in fantasy. Where are we at here? Let's dive right in. I got the Raiders at the Packers, 24-42. Aaron Rodgers puts on an absolute career day. I lost Cash Cows Poker League with Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback.
Yeah, almost 430 yards, 5 touchdowns. Seen one get in on the floor as well. So a huge fantasy day from Rodgers. Kind of what I'm sure fantasy managers like yourself have been waiting on all year from this guy.
Yeah, I was stoked on it, of course. I unfortunately also had Evan Ingram and a lot of other matchups that, I had some injuries happen. Thielen went down, of course, after his touchdown. A lot of injuries and just guys not showing up to play. Lost a close one, lost a nail biter. It hurt. I actually had a really good week, 14 and 8 overall. I just happened to lose Cash Cows, and that's the one I want to win each week more than anything. So, talk to us about these Green Bay receivers. Are we looking to get Devontae Adams back next week? Obviously, Valdez-Scantling peeled off 21 points, but I think 16 of that was on a single play.
Yeah, I mean he had the huge touchdown reception.
It's like an 80-yarder
really
or something like that, wasn't it? Like something ridiculously long. Guys, as you're watching, you're thinking, why am I here in fantasy football, but I'm watching a poker stream? Well, it was time to do the show, and we do the show from my phone. So here we are, because you guys are going to have to see me win a final table of this PLO 8 while we get this football stuff done.
And for the people at home that don't know what the hell PLO 8 is, will you tell them?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That's Pot Limit Omaha High-Low. That is where you use 4 cards to make a high-low hand. And
have to use 2, can't use.
Yeah, you must use 2 for each, the high and the low. And there's not always a qualifying low. It's got to be 3 cards under 8, not paired. All right. Lazard was not what fantasy owners everywhere hoped he would be. Let's talk about Jamal Williams, man. Dude.
But hold on. Back to Lazard for just 1 second. With the news of Scantling and Allison playing, that changed me. Like, I was on Lazard all week, and when the news came out Sunday for daily purposes, I got completely off of Lazard. So I wasn't there when the news of Scantling and Allison came out. So for people who was paying attention, it's kind of what we expected from him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm completely on board with that. I had actually picked him up in Cash Cows, and by the time games kicked off and inactives were announced, I believed Taylor Gabriel had his spot on my team. And that was just in case, because I knew Gabriel was active, and I was more comfortable with going the Bears number 2 than with Lazard with that
but yeah,
pedantic Saints D.
Jamal Williams, like you had brought up, I mean, it kind of scares me a bit. Just from a touch standpoint, he saw significantly less touches than Aaron Jones this game for the first time, really all season. That both of them have been playing, that he severely got out-touched. With basketball starting up, guys, I'm going to give you a full disclosure. I haven't done snap shares and everything like that yet. I'm focused on basketball mainly throughout the week. And, come weekend time is when I really start gearing in for football when basketball season's in. But I'll have to take a look at the snap share, and we can get in a little bit that when we do our final thoughts. But that's kind of concerning to me. We did see him get into the end zone, so the guy is actually making plays. But, I mean, we're looking at 16 touches for Aaron Jones, 12 in the rushing, and 4 in the receiving. And we've seen Jamal Williams with 3 in the rushing and 4 in the receiving. Same amount of catches, on par with the targets, but a significant drop-off when it comes to the rushing attempts.
For who? Let me see that again.
Jamal Williams. He was out-touched on the ground by 10.
Yeah, and that is a bit concerning because before his concussion, it was actually he was starting to get a little bigger workload on the early downs as well, and the preferred running downs, if you want to refer to them as such.
And I don't see this as a ease-back situation either. You know what I
Not
mean?
at all. Not
because
at all.
It's a concussion. It's not a groin or a hamstring.
Yeah,
or
he's back
foot injury.
100%. Was the minute they cleared him to play. He's still obviously the number 2 guy. This is obviously someone I had talked about earlier in the year that I thought could maybe over. And I still think Aaron Jones is multiple bad games in a row from losing, a majority touch share there. I think it would take a 2 or 3 games stretch of him not performing and not getting anything done. Aaron Jones 12 for 50, Rodgers 2 for 6 and a touch. That made Tim furious when they called back his passing touchdown, so he ran one in for me.
Oh yeah. I mean, we did see Jimmy Graham get a little bit of usage. Still not the amount of targets that we'd like to see from Jimmy Graham's perspective, especially with Devontae Adams being out. Like, this guy is being close to unplayable when Devontae Adams gets in. Right now, he's Aaron Rodgers' favorite red zone target. And actually was when Devontae Adams was in the game, which is really odd.
I think it helps him to have Devontae. I mean, you're aware of Devontae Adams as a defense. You're going to pay attention to him, like you said, in the red zone. This is a guy who can draw coverage, whereas there's no one out there really drawing coverage for Green Bay. But Aaron Rodgers, obviously, like we've seen Sunday, is just going to throw it wherever it needs to be thrown perfectly and flawlessly.
Well, I mean, and Jimmy Graham wasn't particularly good even when Devontae Adams was playing. So, I mean,
Jimmy Graham ain't been good since he left the Saints.
I think the dude is personally dust, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And is playable until Adams gets back. I'm not sure if he's playable when Adams gets back.
I think that makes him playable again. I don't think he's playable now. Like, I've just seen what he's done. Like, well, obviously, you already had the win in the bag against me when I played him 2 weeks ago. I played him several times last week as well. And all these weeks I've been playing him, and just a big sigh of relief every time after the game with Jimmy's over because it never hurt that bad. It's never even once hurt so far when I've had to deal with him this year. Like maybe once, literally.
This week he has 16. Like that's a really good score out of a tight end.
It is, but this is the first time all year he's done anything in that ballpark.
I don't know.
Is it not?
I mean, it is, but it's not something that we expect out of Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I haven't been on a Jimmy Graham guy since he left Louisiana. So
I mean, on the Raiders side, Josh Jacobs balled out, continued his nice look from the Bears game where he just ran buck wild all over them. Ran buck wild all over Green Bay, which is a trend that we've seen now for 6 out of the last 7 weeks, aside from Zeke. The run defense isn't good. The pass defense and the pass coverage, the pass rush is phenomenal with Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith.
Yeah,
those guys have been phenomenal.
Agent Smiths, I've heard them called by Packer fans.
Yeah, those two have been good, and their passing defense is really good. You wouldn't know it by Darren Waller, but Darren Waller's just been balling all year. So I can give them a pass on Waller's big game, but. I mean, it was pretty much, with no Tyrell Williams, it was pretty much the Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller show.
And for the most part, it's the Darren Waller show every week, it seems like, so far this year. He's had, 1 to 2 games where he wasn't a top-tier tight end fantasy producer?
Something like that.
I mean, yeah, game in and game out, he's been pretty solid. I won't say the most consistent because I don't have numbers in front of me, but he's been consistently good all year.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you want from a tight end who gets receiver-type usage.
Tib trusted him so much he trades Travis Kelce for next year's first-round pick off of a guy.
And looks like a genius doing it.
It looks like it, and yeah, because so far since the trade, Waller's continued to outperform Kelce, I think, in every...
And he also got Fournette out of that trade, which is ridiculous. He got Fournette and the first-rounder out of the Kelce deal. Wow. That's a fucking ton, man. That is a boatload.
Yeah, that's an incredible deal. Looking back at it now, I'm like, wow.
And Fournette was a third. He could keep him for a second next year and still have his 2 first-round picks.
I think Fournette will be going if he's still Jaguar and still in that same set. You think that'll be the case next season?
I 100% do.
I know you guys that don't really play Omaha high-low are thinking I'm supposed to call right there for sure, but this is a spot in the tournament where I'm not calling without a primo hand, and that is not a primo hand. And even flopping the straight right there, it's not a good flop as far as it's very easy for someone to have king queen in this game. You'd rather make your hand on the turn or river in this game, not the flop. Anywho.
But yeah, I mean, you got anything else from that game before we move on?
Oh, not at all. I think that it was an epic Aaron Rodgers show off. I will say that I don't think that that's the Packers you'll see every week, although I think that did give the coach, like, hey, we can just like let him do that whenever we want.
Yeah, it's almost like they put him in a box for the first 6 weeks like he was a rookie or something. I
Yeah.
didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it more now, and being that no one would take my outlandish deals I was asking for Alvin Kamara and Adam Thielen, I maybe just ride with this team and try to come back and win the league. And by win the league, well, 3-4 is not in it either.
Yes, it is.
Well, it ain't in it. It's not in it, it's just in it,
All right, next game on the docket, Rams-Falcons. Beat down.
Yeah. Jalen Ramsey, welcome to L.A. Well, actually, welcome to Atlanta where the players play, but now you go back to L.A. where it's sunny all day. How was that?
All right, well, anyway, Rams completely beat the shit out of them here.
Yeah, no, I heard that.
From offensively to defensively, they just were able to do what they want. We seen Matt Ryan leave. Was that late third, I believe?
Late third, early fourth. Yeah, it could have even been mid fourth. It was at such a time where it's like, why is the guy even in here to be getting hurt?
So yeah, we seen him leave, and they obviously did nothing basic. Well, they scored more points with Matt Schaub in there than they did with Matt Ryan, which is neither here nor there against the defense who's been very mediocre all year.
One of their wide receivers no longer plays for him anymore. He now plays in New England. Yeah. Mohamed Sanu has been traded. If you haven't heard in the news already, we'll bring it to you here, secondhand Stan. Mohamed Sanu to New England for a second-round draft pick? Question mark? Is that it? Just straight up? Sanu for a second? I think.
Yes.
Okay. So, he will be Tom Brady's new target. A lot of people are scratching their heads on that one, but I think that it makes sense, and maybe that we may find out Josh Gordon's not either up to Belichick's
Josh Gordon was put on IR this morning.
Oh, so see, that's news to me.
That's why they traded for Sanu.
All right, guys, it turns out I'm going to have to go drop 97 Josh Gordons.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the way Sanu will fit in, I figured we'd get into that in a later pod. But I mean, he's not going to take Julian Edelman's role. He is going to play a role similar to Julian Edelman. Mohamed Sanu's I don't know why I called him Marvin. Mohamed Sanu's usage in Atlanta was very similar to the way that they use Edelman now. So, to me, that is just not only is it a boost for them, Mohamed Sanu is a very talented receiver, and I know something that you and I could put a bet out there and probably make a lot of money, but in the playoffs, when the offense isn't moving the ball, you can bet your sweet ass Mohamed Sanu is throwing for a touchdown in that New England offense.
Yeah. Belichick's already seen him several times throughout his career.
He tried to get him before the draft this past season. He tried to trade for him before the draft, wasn't able to do it.
So what's the deal? Is Mohamed Sanu, ultra talented and we've just yet to realize him as, a legitimate, superstar? Or is he just adequate, good at what he does receiver? Because you usually don't see guys sought after by Belichick. He goes after Josh Gordon, who's been troubled with lots of suspensions, and turns his career around essentially there out of Cleveland. And we've seen him, but we usually see him if he goes after someone, it's a cornerback or it's a key defensive piece that he needs to make his scheme fit and work, a do-all type of guy. And where is Sanu going to be an elite player on the Patriots now, or is he just going to be another one of the guys?
No, I mean, he's going to be a guy who commands targets, so you're looking at a Philip Dorsett, Julian Edelman, Marvin Sanu type trio up there when they decide to run three wide. I think they are going to start getting N'Keal Harry involved as well when he is finally fully 100% healthy. But okay. Mohamed Sanu I would expect him to get more targets in New England than he got in uh, Atlanta just by product of talent around him. He's around a little bit less talent than he was in Atlanta, and I expect his talent to shine a little bit more amongst the players around him, which is going to lead Brady. And, this is something that you and I touched on in week 2. We talked about how Brady was going to get Antonio Brown involved because they wanted him to feel comfortable. I think we're going to see the same with Sanu, especially in the first 2-3 weeks that he's on the field for him.
Okay. I'm with you on that. Anything else you want to talk about from that Falcons-Rams game?
Just monitor Matt Ryan because we don't know the severity yet. I know he doesn't have any damage ligament-wise or structurally. They call it a high ankle sprain, but the same thing that Mahomes was playing with. But we'll just have to kind of see where his status leads going into the week. But as far as from this game, no, I mean, I don't have much else as far as...
Devontae Freeman was ejected for throwing a punch at Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald lifted him off the ground like Darth Vader in Star Wars did with his mind.
Literally lifted.
Only Aaron Donald didn't use his mind. He used his massive arm strength, and I think Devontae Freeman just got a little crazy streak in his brain there and decided, I'm going to throw a punch at this dude. It probably hurt his hand in the process.
Yeah, man.
His dumbass hit him in the face mask. I'm so glad. He finished the day with 4.5 points. There's a lot of different guys for his price I could have put in that DraftKings lineup where everybody else in the lineup did just fine and pretty awesome. And then there's Freeman down there wasting my flex spot. I got nothing from that.
Yeah, I got nothing from this next game. It was a sloppy rain fest. No team tried to do anything.
49ers 9-0. Robbie Gould, the hometown hero. Guys, this was a monsoon. This was how you picture playing backyard football with your friends on a rainy Saturday where it rained all day Friday into the night, and you're out playing and it's still raining. It was a sloppy mess. Had I have known that, I would have went way lighter on my Tevin Colemans. I didn't check the weather report. I wasn't a good meteorologist. Nothing to speak on from the game. Of course, the Niners win. The Redskins never even attempted to move the ball. I don't know that they ever got past midfield.
Yeah. It was.
They did. They missed a field goal. I think, at one point.
It was an ugly overall game.
But nothing to speak on from it.
If you didn't watch it, you didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
Legit.
Unfortunately, if you watch Red Zone, you were forced to occasionally go in and check on them. And by check on them,
you see a random field goal every now and
then. Or a random run play. It's like as soon as Robbie Gould hits the second field goal and they're up 6-0 in the third quarter, the game's over already, barring a miracle. A McLaurin miracle. So, nothing to speak on from that game. Next up, we got Vikings rolling the Detroit Lions. Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped one. Well, we're going to do the Texans-Colts first. Colts get the win at home to take the control of that division 30-23. It was a close game. At the end of the day, Deshaun and the boys just came up a little short. I believe Watkins' interceptions, Watson interceptions is what cost them the day. Jones, take it away. What'd you get from this one?
Yeah, so we seen the return of D-Hop, which was well needed, I'm sure, for a lot of season-long guys, and nice to see from myself in the daily side because I went pretty heavy on Hopkins. But we did see Will Fuller go down in this game. Kenny Stills next man up, as well as Kiki QT in the slot. So that will be something to monitor and know moving forward. Just a slight look ahead here. I do expect Hopkins to get the biggest boost just because Will Fuller takes a lot of targets. So those targets have to go somewhere. And I would expect the majority of them to go to Hopkins. And even bigger boost in the red zone since Fuller was getting red zone looks. So I do expect Hopkins to get more looks than he even was before, which is pretty tough.
Yeah, and I think QT, as far as for the underneath guys that'll benefit the most, we already seen him have a pretty good game as Fuller was injured that game, and I think that's going to continue. That's a pass-heavy team. They weren't going to sit there and hand the ball to Hyde all season long. How many did he carry? Yeah, 12 carries in that game where it was a close competitive game all game long. Hopkins and Stills. Stills was obviously your big man down the field. QT is going to be, you said, running from the slot, and I don't see any of that changing there. So at this point, next man up mentality. Jacoby Brissett,
Balled out.
like, completely went off the deep end. 4 touchdowns. One of them being one of those nice little shovel forward where he just has to toss it forward 1.5 feet and then watch.
And this was one of the games that Red Zone gave us a lot of. So we actually seen a lot of this game. And everything that I seen, man, Brissett looked awesome. Like, he's... And this is another thing to keep in mind. Like, when you think of Jacoby Brissett, do you think he's been in the league a long time?
Oh, I'm putting him at about 6 years, give or take.
It's his 4th year in the league.
Really?
He showed a lot of good stuff for not having a ton of game experience. This is his 4th year in the league, man. The guy actually looks good. I wouldn't have a problem rostering him in fantasy at this point.
Oh, I've had him rostered. He's been doing well for me for weeks now. Not great, just adequate.
I mean, I think it's definitely something that you got a guy on bye, or you're looking to get from underneath a Jameis Winston type, for instance, if you're looking to go that route. Jacoby Brissett's a fine replacement. Should be available in the majority of leagues as well.
Yeah, unless I've scooped him up already.
Marlon Mack got a shit ton of carries again, which we continue to see him do. He's top 5 in carries on the whole season, even with missing a game. So nothing really different there. And as far as the target tree with T.Y. returning, we did see him get into the end zone, but also the emergence of Zach Pascal, who also came on a couple times last year. I really don't know what to make of this guy. It seems like he just randomly does this, couple times a season. It's just hard to project when. I still don't think he's fantasy rival.
No, I don't either. They're going to kind of alternate who gets the ball behind T.Y. there, it looks like. They share with their tight ends. They're heavy and with their running backs as well. So I don't look for Pascal. Like, show me a couple of games where you can actually, do that and, continue that, and we'll talk, I suppose.
The last thing I want to point out before we get out of this game, the most encouraging thing that I've seen is Marlon Mack actually out-receiving Nyheim Hines. If that is something that we see continue, we can see Marlon Mack become the 3-down back, which would make him damn near a low-end RB1. So just monitor that and see, where that goes.
Yeah, and I already had Hines as almost fantasy irrelevant. He's had 1 to 2 games a season where he even got to 10 points, if that.
Well, I'm not saying that Hines is
No, I
necessarily
know.
fantasy.
I'm just pointing it out to him that I don't think he was in the first place, but he's becoming less relevant because Mack is taking his touches in that regard in the passing attack as well. Next up, Vikings beating on the Lions, as we touched on a minute ago. Kirk Cousins also balling out. There are 3 teams in that division that have quarterbacks. The Bears are not one of them. 2 quarterbacks in this game. Stafford not up to his usual standards, but he still played decently.
Oh, no, Stafford was awesome.
Was he? Oh, Stafford no, he was. Never mind. I'm
awesome.
Sorry. I just see a 12-point loss, and it makes me think that he struggled. But no, that's still solid. He only had 1 pick. No fumbles that I can see anywhere, but they don't show him. Did he have a fumble?
No. Stafford was awesome last week.
All right, Stafford was clean last week. 364, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. One of the higher volume passing teams in the league. They don't care to run the ball any more than they ever have to.
Although, biggest thing coming out of this game,
Kerryon Johnson is hurt. IR.
So
season ending.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I don't know if it's season ending.
Fantasy season ending.
I think it has to be season ending because I think the IR is an 8-week rule or a 6-week rule. I can't remember. So it's damn near the season. But expected Ty Johnson to step up in his role, J.D. McKissick to become the primary 3rd down back as opposed to kind of chopping that up with Ty Johnson before.
Yeah, so everybody get to your waiver wires and try to get Ty Johnson now like a mad dash.
Yeah.
He will be involved probably more so than Kerryon because it looks like he's trusted already in the passing game. So there you go. Yeah, I think that's the main takeaway from that game.
Thielen also is not going on Thursday night.
Yeah, Thielen not going to go. That's already official, huh?
Yeah.
That sucks the big egg.
And, of course, Dalvin Cook balled out like we're getting accustomed to Dalvin Cook doing.
Yeah, it's if you're anything like me, it's irritating to see that on a week in, week out basis. But
And I mean, another 26 touches as well.
oh, look at that, we're four-handed now.
Another 26 touches. So bell cow matchup proof. Don't know what else to say about the guy. He's been pretty incredible this year.
Yeah, absolutely look like at this point he'll go as a top 5 back on the year, if not top 3.
Oh yeah. He's second now.
Yeah, behind old CMC, I would assume.
Yeah.
Oh, we're flop 3 pair. Next game up. Jaguars beating on the Bengals. Surprise, surprise. Even without Jalen Ramsey, they still put it to them. Gardner Minshew, 255 and 1, but under 50% completion percentage. Leonard Fournette, 29 carries, a buck 31. DJ Chark also had a 20-yarder, and Westbrook got to carry twice for 14 yards. Westbrook led the way with 8 for 103, followed by Conley and Chark with each 3 for 83 and 53 respectively. And I fold that. Fournette 2 for 14 as well. Yeah, that's
another 31 touches for Fournette.
Yeah, Fournette just continuously continues to look awesome and do good things. So pretty stoked on that.
On the Bengals side,
just high volume, yeah.
On the Bengals side, man, like not a whole lot to talk about. Alex Erickson had a huge game. The majority of it did come in garbage time. And Alex Erickson is a guy who you wouldn't necessarily project to have 8 catches for a buck 37 type of day, but has been in that offense for a long time. Has been in a next man up type of role for a while as well. So not all that surprising to see that type of a line, especially from a guy who's getting tons of opportunity until AJ Green comes back.
Yeah, we're very close to that. Yeah, like there's a lot of trade talks on that.
Yeah, so that'll obviously be something that you need to pay attention to. Trade deadline is next Thursday, which would be the 29th of October. So we'll know at least by then if he'll be playing for the Bengals or not.
Full double. All right. Just got my full double in the tournament while you were giving us awesome fantasy information. Could life get any better than this? What's next game up here? Oh, this was one that Kyler Murray disappointed a bit in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Cardinals won. They won 27-21, but Kyler Murray had very little to do with the scoring. It was all Chase Edmonds all day. And
that was because David Johnson played 3 plays and left the game.
Yeah. David Johnson was active. He went out. He got 1 carry for 2 yards. Apparently his injury was not going to let him go this week, so that's what we get out of that. Chase Edmonds, 27 carries, a buck 26, 3 touchdowns, another 2 receptions for 24 yards. He is second on the team in receptions, only behind Pharaoh Cooper, who had 4. Everybody else had 2 or less. So
yeah, and if David Johnson doesn't play, you need to be getting to your waiver wires now to pick up Chase Edmonds in the event that David Johnson doesn't play. I'm not saying that this is the type of performance that you are going to see from him, but he was already efficient before this game.
Yeah,
on not as many touches. So
absolutely,
the guy can play. So you definitely need to have him in the event that David Johnson is out. And if you are a David Johnson manager, you definitely should have Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, and I think Chase Edmonds is starting to develop his own value as far as, well, you've touched on it before, where they utilize David Johnson in the slot a lot. Occasionally as a decoy, where it's Edmonds' turn to try to do work and do damage. So they're definitely a team that's, with their young quarterback and banged up receiver core right now, which we still haven't got Christian Kirk back. So they're obviously trying to utilize a 2 running back set there.
But he is a lot closer. He was a true game time decision last week. I would honestly be surprised if he doesn't suit up this week.
Yeah. However, on the Kamara side of things, I don't think you're going to have Kamara again.
I just don't see a need to try them out.
I don't either. Sadly enough,
Yeah.
I don't either.
I don't see a need to try them out against Arizona.
I'm actually trying to trade him right now in our league, and I'm asking for second round picks. I had a deal going down with Flint where I was trying to get like a second and a fifth and a seventh upgrade and Royce Freeman. Because you know how it is in our league.
Yeah, our league is sharp as far as the waiver wire pickups. A lot of the times,
the waiver wire pickups are sharp, but some of the trades aren't.
Yes, the waiver wire pickups are very sharp. The trades are not sharp at all. But most of the time in our Cash Cows league, if you're like, oh, I got to go pick up this guy off the waiver, odds are he's been gone for like a week and a half.
Yeah, like when you finally heard about it on ESPN and you're the guy in the league that doesn't set your lineup, and you know who you are in our league when I say that. Like, when you finally realized that he had been snatched up like 3 weeks before that, like when he actually started like showing promise.
And sometimes it's even before.
Yeah, like we see it like, oh, that dude got a carry. I'm short at running back. Oh, I got a guy going on IR. He's mine. Done. Like, what's that dude you picked up? I don't know. I forgot his name, but I seen him get a touch last week, and I don't think the starter been looking very good, so he's mine now, just in case. Next up, we got Dolphins, Bills. This was interesting. The Dolphins actually jumped out to a lead. They held it for a while. Ryan Fitzmagic throwing the ball a lot better for the Dolphins than Rosen was ever dreaming of. Fitzpatrick, 23 of 35, 282, 1-1. I know that doesn't sound impressive, but compared to what Rosen's been doing these last few games, that's like a godsend for them. Preston Williams, 6 for 82. Devontae Parker, 5 for 55 with a touch. This was a better-looking Dolphins team. Still didn't win. Bills, they actually scored, the Dolphins did, and was losing 24-21, going for the onside kick, and the Bills housed the onside kick.
Yeah.
Only the Dolphins get an onside kick housed on them. Micah Hyde leaping in the air, receives the ball, pirouettes, comes down majestically, and takes it another 30 yards because he leaped over all the Dolphins while he did it. So
yeah. On the Bills side, Josh Allen, pretty efficient day. Only threw it 26 times. They just didn't need him to do all that much. Couple touchdowns, no picks. Your fantasy darling returning from the hamstring injury
was atrocious.
Seen 7 carries in the rushing game. Nothing in the receiving game.
That concerns me.
This, I don't know what it is. I don't know if Frank Gore has like a spell on these coaches or whatever, but coaches love to give this guy the fucking ball.
Yeah, dude.
I don't understand it.
I got a few jokes that aren't appropriate on how Frank Gore keeps getting all these touches. They involve hot tubs, if you can see where I'm going.
Like, this guy, I mean, seriously, like, every coach, like, even when he was in Miami last year, like, he
took touches from Kenya. He basically made Kenyon Drake irrelevant last year, and Balaj out of nowhere makes him irrelevant, and he was fantasy relevant for a few weeks last season. It's crazy.
It's incredibly frustrating. So I would have to assume that we don't see anything change. Frank Gore's going to get the majority of the work with Devin Singletary mixing in almost like a Miles Sanders type role, except not in the receiving game, which kind of limits his upside as far as.
Well, I think that was just an outlier. Like, he was involved in the receiving game and the other games he played in. That's how he got all his touches.
The other 1 or 2. He's been out since literally like.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not giving up on this kid yet. Like, he's still a rookie.
I'm giving up for him on this season.
I'm not giving up on him yet. I'm not starting him anymore, but I'm certainly not giving up on him. He's not the first guy I'm trying to drop if I need a waiver wire transaction. Let's put it that way.
Maybe not in the keeper league, but I'm dropping him in all other. He's worthless. He's worthless this season. He's worthless.
That's one bad game by my fantasy darling, and Jones bails on him and calls him worthless.
Two bad games, and he got out touched, man. Like, that's alarming for a guy.
I don't like how you're saying that. You're saying it so proud, dude. And he got out touched.
I'm not trying to say it proud. I'm just trying to point out the facts. But overall, not a lot to take away from this game. Kind of went as we expected. The outcome anyway.
Yeah. I'm on board with that. This next one up is the Chargers and Titans. Titans get it was a last second field goal, wasn't it?
You heads up now?
I am heads up in this turn.
All right, well, I'll just take it over.
Take it over. Let me play some heads up for a minute.
Chargers Titans here. We really didn't see a whole lot from this game, honestly. We see Melvin Gordon continue to be inefficient. 16 carries, 32 yards. Picked up 2 yards in the receiving game for -3 yards total, but scored a touchdown in the receiving game. So we did see him get in the end zone. The sad part about it is he got in the end zone and still only had 10 points. I'm going to let that soak in for a little while. He got into the end zone and he scored 10 fantasy points from a guy who got 18 touches in the game, scored 10 fantasy points, and the only reason he got there was because of a touchdown. So I'm not telling you that you need to be sitting Melvin Gordon because the talent, I believe, is still there. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with this team. I think it is a team thing, not necessarily a talent thing. This team just isn't very good. I think that's what it boils down to at the end of the day. But Eckler continues to be involved, not necessarily in the running game, but in the receiving game. Another 7 catches, over 100 yards and a touchdown. So he may not be being utilized as your typical running back, but he is very involved in this offense. So continue to play your Austin Ecklers.
Here's a set of 8s. Let me get that. How sick heads up set versus set.
Hunter Henry also doing his thing 2 weeks in a row that he did his thing. Almost 100 yards, 3 points away from the bonus if you play DraftKings, which is kind of maddening, but another solid outing from him. Ryan Tannehill on the other side. This is actually kind of surprising. Only threw it 29 times, but was very efficient. 23 of 29. Didn't have a typical game manager line. 23 of 29 for 312. So 23 completions, 312 yards, well over 10 yards per completion. A couple touchdowns. I think this may be a guy that I'm not telling you to play in season long, but on a week-to-week basis on any given week, depending on the matchup, obviously, Ryan Tannehill, especially at his cheap salaries that he's going to be at, maybe someone to monitor as far as the daily side goes. So Derrick Henry also getting his touches as usual. Another 27 carries, almost 100 yards. So you got to like what you see there. And then in the receiving game, it was pretty much the Corey Davis and A.J. Brown show, which is pretty encouraging. Corey Davis has been dreadful for the most part of the year. So pretty encouraging to see him step up there. But I mean, as far as that game goes, that's pretty much the sum of it. Melvin Gordon's been atrocious in his last 2 or 3 weeks, and I don't think it's a talent problem. I think it's more so a team problem. Moving on to the next game here, we're looking at Ravens-Seahawks. Ravens go into Seattle, pick up a really, really big win by double digits here. And this was also kind of a rainy game, so we didn't see Lamar chuck it around a whole bunch, which is honestly, I think, what they want to do anyway, is limit his passing attempts, although I'm not sure why he looked to be an incredibly good passer, especially early in the season against bad defenses. But this one was a rainy one nonetheless. Lamar threw it 20 times, had under 150 yards passing, but added damn near 120 on the floor and a touchdown. So Lamar continues to be Lamar in the aspect that we expect from him. Mark Ingram was atrocious as he's been without his touchdowns all season. If he doesn't get into the end zone, this guy's not playable. So keep that in mind when you're starting him on a season-long basis. If he doesn't get into the end zone, he's probably going to crater your lineup with a 4. So just keep that in mind. Mark Andrews, his first disappointing game of the year, really. I don't take anything away from that. I do expect that to bounce back. Russell Wilson had his worst game of the year by far, and I credit a lot of that to the Baltimore defense. The Baltimore defense has made some changes. They brought in their big defensive tackle who was playing in the AAF last year, and also decided to start putting Marlon Humphrey on the best corner, or on the best receiver, and giving him shadow treatment, which has really revamped this defense as a unit. Early in the season, they were very bad. The last 2 or 3 weeks, been really, really good, and this is a good offense that they stifled. We've seen Chris Carson have, one of his worst games of the year. Still had the volume, which is encouraging, over 20 touches. Added another 3 in the receiving game. So as far as his usage and his workload, still in line with what we've been seeing. Continues to be a fantasy stud, but just wasn't his game. And in the receiving side from Seattle, not a whole lot to talk about. We did see Tyler Lockett kind of get loose, but nothing really to write home about. I think he finished with 17 when it was all said and done. So solid day out of him. Definitely not slate breaking. This next game here, Saints Bears. This game ended 36-25, not nearly as close as the score indicates. Chicago scored 2 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes of the game to make this even look this close. So this was a blowout all game. Michael Thomas ate all game. I am personally starting to question the Bears defense. The week before they went on bye, they let Josh Jacobs completely feast on them. And then coming into this game, we've seen not only Teddy Bridgewater be super effective, but Latavius Murray in 27 carries had 120